Welcome to Coding with BC Brian. Today we're going to continue where we left off last time and add some CSS to our little form that we've made for the user to log in. This is kind of the end goal that we're looking for, so I'm going to just run this real quick and go back to the bare bones HTML. So we're going to be using CSS to make these changes. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. It's used as the styling aspect of our HTML. So with that, the first thing we're going to do is, I don't like how close things are here. And if we look at our divs for each element, we put them all in a form group. We used class to do that. So we can go dot class, the dot means class, form group. So this dot again right here is referencing the fact that we're using a class, and then we're going to give them a margin of 10 pixels. We're going to give them a padding of 5 pixels, and we're going to do text align center. Then I'm going to hit the run button here and we'll see this all update and be a little bit more spaced out. If I right click on this and inspect it in Chrome, I can go up to the form group and I can see those changes that we put in here in the style part of Chrome. And that's very useful in being able to prototype quickly. So we're going to utilize that as we go on a little bit more. So this login, I'm going to inspect it, and we gave it a title ID, an ID title. So we're going to utilize that. If I just hit this plus button, it gives me an H2 with the ID of title, and I would like to do text align center. And one thing that's nice about using Chrome to prototype these quickly is I can get a really good idea of what things are going to look like, and the keywords are populated for me. So I'm going to leave out the H2 because I don't want it to be specific to H2. I just want it to be based on titles. So I'm going to copy that, or based on the ID of title, and just paste that in up here. If I run it, you'll see that it updated, and if I inspect it, you'll see that title now has that text aligned center. The next thing is, I don't like the fill of the button in the input. I don't like how they're not roughly the same sizes. So we're going to do a new type of styling based on button. So this is based on the type now, so this is another way. And input. So these are the three main ways to style. We can do by a class with the dot, by ID with the hash, or just the name of the tag. And this will do all of those tags of that type. Now what I've done here is done a comma to list all of the ones that I want to have this styling. What we're going to do here is do width 100%, and then we're going to do a max width of 200 pixels. So think of this as kind of a way to look at doing responsive design, meaning designing stuff to fit in a mobile scenario or in a desktop version. I've said that I want it to be 100%, so I'm going to comment this out just so you see what that looks like. And if I run it, we'll see that they're 100% now. But if I put in this max, there'll be 100% up to 200 pixels. And there we go. So now we're starting to get a little bit better layout. So next is these inputs. So I'm going to inspect on these inputs because I want to do this a lot quicker. As you can see, there's already some default styling put on these put on by Chrome, and that's fine. But we're going to try and overwrite these. So the first thing we do is do a border radius -radius. Whoops, did not get the radius in there. There we go. And then we're going to do that of 5 pixels. And that'll give us nice rounded corners on the top and bottom there. And it's just going to do this top one because that's the one I'm focused on doing right now. Next, we're going to do a border, different type of a border than the default one. We're going to say that it's going to be 2 pixels thick, and it's going to be solid, and it's going to be gray. And it's really nice using Chrome to prototype these because it just kind of will auto-populate the fields with the values, so I make sure I get the right stuff in there. We're going to do a height. Yep, height of 20 pixels, so make them a little bit taller. And now the next thing we're going to add, we'll talk a little bit more detail of this one, is padding. So there's 2 types of space that you can put around your elements. Padding is an internal space. So if I, let's just add it real quick, padding of 5 pixels. So it'll make your elements a little bit bigger. If I scroll down a little bit to here, I can see that I have a margin, which is on the outside. I have a border, which we just did, and then I have the padding, which is on the inside. And then I have the internal dimensions. So with that, we're going to move on and up the font size to 15 pixels. So now we're going to go font size 15 pixels, and now when a user types in there, they'll get bigger type text than in these ones. So that looks pretty good, so we're going to copy all of that, and just for inputs, we're going to put that in there. And typically I wouldn't want to do it for all inputs. I'd give this input a class and do it for just that, but we're just learning here, and I'm trying to utilize some different approaches so that we can see that. Now if I run this, it'll update the other one as well, so now they both have that look with the larger text. Okay, now I don't know if you notice when I focus, when I click on them, there's that blue bar that comes around. So we're going to change that one up a bit, and the way I do that is if I just hit this plus right now, we can get a, wow, that's interesting. Let's inspect it so that we're working with it rather than the result there. Great. So if I add this, we get input, and then we're going to do a special one. This is a user event called focus. And you can see that it's grayed out right now because we're not actually utilizing it, but we're going to say border 2 pixels, solid, and we're going to say steel blue. So this is grayed out because it's not active right now, but if I come in here and click in this, it should focus it, and now you can see that this is active, and we're utilizing that steel blue from before. I can also click up here to toggle the focus state, and then just so that you get a view of the differences, it's very minor, but I can change those out right there. Now we're going to go in and on hover, let's turn off that We're going to do another one that's just on hover when the mouse just goes over it. So let's focus that real quick so we can get this one copied over into our thing. And then the other one is very similar. It's just hover instead. So this is when the mouse just hovers over it. And when I run this, now we're utilizing that hover. And if I hover over, we're getting still blue. I want to use a different color though. I want to use purple. If I can spell it right, purple. There we go. Now I run that. Now when we hover over, we get this purple color, which is looking lovely. Last thing that we're going to do is some changes to the button down here, just to kind of get some match there. So we're going to inspect the button, and we have just the button's element style right here, which is perfect. We're going to go with a border radius, missed the D there, border radius of 5 pixels to match that. That's good. We're going to do some play with the borders to give it a little bit more of a 3D look. So we're going to go border bottom. Instead of specifying them all at once, we're going to specify them in pieces. And we're going to say 2 pixels, solid gray, and border right, 2 pixels, solid gray as well. The height is going to be 30 pixels. The padding is going to be 5 pixels. The font size, again, will be 15 pixels just to match. And then the last thing we're going to do is change that background color. So I'm going to go to background color right there. Oh, that was weird. Background color. There we go. And we're going to do a different thing. Instead of saying the color, we're going to do a color type of red, green, blue, and the alpha for its opacity. So we're going to, these accept values from 0 to 255. So 128 worth of red, we're going to have no green. We're going to have 128 of blue, and we're going to do 0.44. So it's kind of see-through a little bit. If you were to put stuff behind it, you could see it, but that allows us to play with the color a little bit differently. So yeah, I think that's going to be it for our button. So let's, oh goodness, let's struggling there. Let's copy that. And this is for the button. Now on hover, let's run this and inspect the button, because we're going to do just a little bit different on hover. So this is what the class is now for when we hover over the button. So you can see the button's normal, but when we hover over, we're going to give it a little bit of a different view. So instead of border bottom, we're going to change it to the top now. The right is going to be transitioned to the left. Bottom border will end up being none. The right border will end up being none, and we'll make those transitions in just a moment. And the other thing we need to overwrite is the color, and we're going to make it darker by just changing this up to 64. So I'm going to copy these up real quick, just so that we've got those there. Now, border radius we don't need to do anything with because we're not overriding it. Height we're not overriding. Padding we're not overriding. Font size we're not overriding. But we are overriding border bottom, and we're going to just say that it's none. And I'm going to just copy that and do border right. So essentially we're just saying, hey, when this happens, we're just overriding those. And that should do it. When we run this, we'll get our button back and we get a cool little popping down effect when we hover over it. And we could do an active or click or whatever, so that when the user actually clicks on it, we get a little bit different feel. But that's it for now. Feel free to play with this a little bit more. You'll find a link to this specific spot in the comments of the video. And good luck coding.